Okay, the light-dependent reactions. So when we start to look at the greater detail of the metabolic reactions of photosynthesis, we can see that they're divided into two stages, the light-dependent stage and the light-independent stage. Now, whilst technically speaking, the light-independent stage doesn't need light itself, it does need the products of the light-dependent reactions. So without light, the light-independent reaction doesn't really occur either. But for now, we're going to look at the light-dependent reaction and see what's going on with that. So where does this take place? It takes place in the thylakoids and in the lumen of the thylakoids. And so it's in these sections here, on and within the membrane and membrane sacs. So what on earth is this picture? Well, the black line represents the thylakoid membrane, okay? Then the red blobs are what we call the photosystem. So this is photosystem 2, and this is photosystem 1. I mean, of course it is, because of course that's the logical way around, that photosystem 2 comes after photosystem 1. So what happens? Well, the first thing that happens is we have water, and as we already know, water gets split by light energy. So light comes in, this is in around the thylakoids, and then it splits the water into half an oxygen, which can diffuse away, 2 electrons, and 2 hydrogen ions. Okay, now at the same time, light is striking this photosystem, and what it is doing is electrons within this photosystem are being excited, so they're going whee! That noise is very important, all the way up to what we call a high energy electron acceptor. So the light has given this electron a lot of energy. What that has done, though, is it has left electron-shaped holes in photosystem 2. So these electrons go into photosystem 2 so that it is no longer a charged particle. Meanwhile, up here, we've got electrons that are all fizzy, buzzy, whizzy, excited with energy. And what they do is they then come through a series of redox reactions down an electron transport chain. Now, this is very similar in kind of every way to the electron transport chain in respiration, including the fact that as the electron goes from high energy to low energy, hydrogen ions are pumped across this membrane. So in addition to these protons, we also have protons that are being pumped across by this electron transport chain. Now, as the electron approaches photosystem 1, light strikes photosystem 1, and again an electron from photosystem 1 is excited whee! To another high energy electron acceptor. That leaves an electron-sized hole space so that this electron can then join there and complete photosystem 1. Meanwhile, this electron here is all fizzy and buzzy and full of energy, and it then comes down a much shorter electron transport chain to meet the terminal electron acceptor, which in this case is a hydrogen carrier called NADP. Now, I like to think of it as NADP for plants because you only find NADP in photosynthesis. It obviously actually stands for phosphate, nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide phosphate, but NADP is fine. You will remember, I am sure, from respiration, that really hydrogen carriers obviously need hydrogen ions. Where on this picture can we see hydrogen ions? Oh, look, here, there are lots of hydrogen ions here. And just like in respiration, as the hydrogen ions move through these special stalked particles, they rotate and ADP and P become ATP. Then the hydrogen ions and the electrons join together to form NADPH or NADPH2 or NADPH plus H. As with NAD, there are lots of different ways of writing this. Okay, And that kind of summarizes the whole process of the light-dependent reactions. Now, just to make things more exciting, there are kind of two ways that you can pass through this. So the first is the way I've described. So we go wee, wee, and that's called non-cyclic photophosphorylation. Uses both the photosystems. It makes both ATP and reduced NADP. But the other way is that from photosystem 1, it can go wee up to here, and then it can actually fall back down to this electron transport chain and then make a cycle, and that's called cyclic photophosphorylation, and it only uses photosystem 1 and it will only make ATP. Which of those two things is done will depend entirely on what the plant needs at that point in time. So sometimes it will be doing non-cyclic photophosphorylation and using both photosystems. Sometimes it will flick into cyclic because it needs a bit more ATP. What then happens is that the products, so the reduced NADP and the ATP, they diffuse out of the thylakoids into the stroma of the chloroplast and go on to the light-independent reaction.